husband did not make it, and you had to come back to face that knowledge as well.
Yeah, obviously that was the most difficult thing. There's a part in the movie where I addressed that, and that was also very difficult for me to see again. I didn't remember feeling that way. I say that I can't deal with the fact that on the day that I returned, we still thought that he might be alive and that he was being held hostage. We found out that a day later that he'd been killed. So that's been very challenging to deal with that.
While you take a moment, let me ask you, Brandon. Aviv was killed. You somehow got this family to... I want to know the mechanics of how you managed to get inside the family in such an intimate and real-time way as they were, desperately seeking, solutions to their daughter's plight and their son-in-laws.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very close with Liat's family. I've known them for over 20 years. And, a week after Liat and Aviv went missing, Liat's father, Liat's son, and Liat's sister all came to Washington, D.C., where my brother and I are documentary filmmakers. And we started filming. We thought it would just be a few days. We thought we'd put something together really short. And as we were filming, we saw that what they were experiencing was a story so drastically different than the story of the other hostages or hostage families that was being presented in the media and on social media. I mean, Liat's father was within days advocating for peace and reconciliation. Her son had barely survived the attack and was deeply traumatized. Her sister didn't want politics to be a part of this at all. And here in front of our camera was 3 generations of one family navigating their grief in different ways and their political differences.
It is, in that regard, remarkable. Particularly, I was stunned by how your father and mother and, others did express those immediately empathetic views of the people who had committed this horrendous act of terrorism and murder and kidnap against you. Obviously, they weren't sympathizing with the perpetrators, but in general, with the Palestinian cause and rights. It's very hard even to talk about that today, 2 years after, for many Israelis.
I think that one thing that's very fundamental in our makeup as people, and certainly in our political makeup, is that no matter what happens to you, there's this moral guide that you don't let go of, no matter how hard and how difficult the things that you're going through are. And I'm glad that that my family chose to deal with what happened, and that their work to release me, to secure my release, was loyal to that.
I'm going to play a little clip that emphasizes that in real time and in real life when you were, starting this journey with the family. So this is your father, who is in Senator Chris Van Hollen's office, and he's talking about desperately wanting information and movement on his daughter and son-in-law. And he expresses the day after wishes as well.
In the name of my daughter and her husband, as part of the hostage release, I think the most important message after this is all over is the question, now what? Reconciliation with the Palestinians is probably the single most important thing that can actually affect a change for the better in the long run.
Again, Brandon, I don't know about you, but for me, that's humbling.
Yeah, I mean, look, watching Yehuda, watching Liat, we didn't know that Liat was going to come out when we started making this film. And when she was released, we didn't know how you would feel. And, the empathy that you've expressed, obviously, toward the hostages that are still in Gaza, but also toward Palestinians that are suffering. For me as a filmmaker and a storyteller, it was a profound a profound thing to document the story of somebody that has suffered what you've suffered. 54 days in captivity, losing your husband, and still emerging with the ability to look on the other side of the fence and care.
Liat, tell us, it's documented in the film, obviously, and it's some of the most compelling testimony as well, how you survived. What happened when you were ripped from your house? Your son was still there. You didn't know what had happened to your husband because he was a first responder. In the end, he didn't survive. Where were you taken and how were you treated for those 54 days?
So I was taken to Khan Yunis, which is a city in the Gaza Strip, and I was taken to the home of one of the people who'd kidnapped me from my home, and I met his family there, and I think they were a little bit surprised that their son came back from wherever with this woman, and they treated me very well. I think it's still an unusual story. A lot of the other hostages obviously weren't treated as well.